Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Mark Aziz, and I'm a co-host of the Assyrian podcast. Today, on this episode, we're going to be interviewing Atourina Charles, the author of her latest children's book, A Necklace to Keep. And with me is Dr. Atourina Charles, who's going to start things off. So I'm going to hand it on over to her, and I'd like to thank SAFO Center for giving us the opportunity to have this interview.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here. I am so excited. We have wonderful news for the audience. And Shlama Lochen, I have to say something in Assyrian. We are thrilled to have Atourina Charles with us, who is the second author globally who's written a book for children ages 4 to 9 on a story that was inspired by the genocide of 1915. Atourina and I started talking about this book when she reached out to us through our email as to whether or not we would be interested in helping her out with this with a book. We realized that there were no books for children at all written about the Assyrian Genocide, and we grabbed the opportunity. We are thrilled to hear the story and this journey, and SAFO Center is amazed with her work as an author and as an illustrator and a self-publisher. Congratulations, Atourina, on your first book ever written. I have my copy, and we are honored to be part of this journey. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back to you, Mark.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get started with this interview. Atourina, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much, Dr. Ramina. That was a really heartfelt intro. And I'm still pinching myself that the book is now out there and available to people. And thank you so much for all of your support and SAFO's support as well. And thank you, Mark. I'm well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Happy to hear it. So let's jump right into it. What inspired you to write your newest book, A Necklace to Keep?
Like Dr. Ramina just pointed out, that it was nearly 2 years ago now that SAFO Center sent out an email. It was sort of a call out saying, that they had done a lot of research and couldn't find any children's books written on the topic of SAFO. And if anybody knew of one, to please let them know. And alternatively, if somebody was interested in writing a children's book, to please reach out to them. I can't tell you how quickly I responded to that email because I had been wanting to write a children's book, and I had literally just been thinking about it that week. And so I thought it was really God sending me a message. And as quick as I replied to that email, Dr. Ramina replied to me, and that was the validation that I really needed to do it. And I was really, really grateful that she even had an interest in supporting me through this process.
Wonderful. So other than the reasons that you just stated right now, why did you choose to write a children's book?
So my daughter is now 6 years old. And since she was very, very young, infant, I read to her all day long, every day, and we accumulated many, many books. And throughout all those hours of poring over books with her and her just really loving them, even as a baby, I was instantly, within that first year of having her, inspired to write my own children's book and having it be based on an Assyrian character and just have stories for Assyrian children, because I didn't really see very much out there. There were some, but I found that there was a huge gap there. And I would find other ethnic groups, different tribes and stuff like that had their own children's books, and I would definitely buy those for her because I thought those were really sweet, and I appreciated other heritages and ethnicities wanting to put out books for their children and to let people who know who they are through children's books. And I just really felt inspired to do the same thing. And so being an artist and having that background, I really felt drawn to that in illustrating and writing my own book for children. Yeah, so that's where it began. That was when the seed was planted, was after my daughter was born.
Interesting. Interesting. So, in A Necklace to Keep, this story is based around the events of the 1915 Assyrian Genocide, also known as Sefo. So, how much of your book is based on those historical events personally and objectively?
It's a really good question. So after speaking with Ramina, I knew that I needed to find a story that I could give a voice to. I wanted it to be a real story. And so I have to attribute a lot to my mom because I spent many hours speaking with her and getting lots and lots of stories from her that she knew. And one that kept resonating with me was a very specific one about a baby. And this is a relative of mine. So it was an eyewitness account that really happened. And I documented the story as she told it to me and as was told to her by her mother and also her aunt. And actually, it was her great aunt, I believe, that told her the story as well. And it was lots and lots of research with my mom and just kind of documenting these stories, but also looking at visuals and hearing other stories that she had. And yeah, that's kind of what shaped it. And that was, and obviously the whole reason for it being around Sefo was the need for that, to tell that story, but really just wanting, and personally, I guess you could say, it was that I felt a really deep need to give a voice to to our ancestors that went through so much, that had this unbelievable resilience and need to survive for us, that that didn't really have their stories told, that kind of just went on with life, that came to a different country and had children and raised them and just kind of moved on. And a lot of them, although our stories are told, of course, uh, they're not documented as much. And this is what the beauty of Sefo Center is, and how much work that they do. But through these kinds of books, I think it's really important as well, especially for children. So yeah, it's deeply personal, and it is based on a true story as well.
Captivating. Captivating indeed. So, why did you choose to include Seifo in the story in some capacity?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I originally wrote and even storyboarded a book 4 years ago about Khabnisan, actually. And I really thought that was going to be my first book. Um, and it ended up not being. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel inspired by that book, although I think that that's an amazing topic. And one day maybe I will, but there was something missing there and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't have this spark behind it. And when I got the email, that newsletter that came out from Safo Center nearly 2 years ago now, with this, call out for children's book around this topic, I thought, this is it. Like this is really, really speaking to me. And yeah, that was the deciding factor. Was I really felt it necessary for children to have these books, because actually a couple books that I have that are my daughter's, that are children's books, um, do have this foundation, this background of, it's clearly something like a genocide, or some really rough thing that this ethnic group that had to go through. And as a parent, when you're reading the book, it's going on, but the child doesn't really get the scope and the depth of it, and it ends up being a beautiful story. And I thought, this is what we need. We need this for Safo, um, for the children, because this is how these stories are passed down, and also for non-Assyrians as well, so that they can hear a story that has not been told basically at all. As we know, it's not taught. Thankfully, because of SAFO, that's changing. But yeah, really preserving that and passing it down to our children. Excuse me. Yeah.
Very touching. I managed to get a look at A Necklace to Keep. I read through it, and I thought it was a beautiful story. And I'll be honest, I even shed a few tears. But beautiful story. One of the most recurring themes in that book is the importance of a bond between a mother and her daughter, and how unbreakable that bond is. So it's pretty evident from your writing in this book that being a mother is very important to you. So what does it mean to be a mother, Atourina Charles?
Oh, that's a big question. What does it mean to be a mother? It means, yeah, it's it means a lot. It means a lot. Honestly, I think it's an incredible thing if a woman chooses that and can be a mother. There's really nothing else that I can compare it to. There's nothing else that is grown me or changed me and matured me in such a way. I honestly, it wasn't until, so for me personally, it wasn't until I had my daughter that I really felt awakened to my heritage, if I may say that. Not to disrespect, but I'm just being honest. Like I was a bit lost for quite quite some years around being Assyrian. And I think that there are some of us that have that experience as Assyrians living in diaspora. And it wasn't until I had her that awakened. It was like something switched on in me, and how beautiful it is to see how much she loves being Assyrian and how much she identifies as Assyrian is incredible for me to witness as well. And she just kind of reaffirms who I am, and how important it is to stay connected to our community, to our people, to our traditions and beliefs. Um, so yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about the book, and thank you. That's really touching that it was moving for you to read. But I also wanted to point out that yes, it is definitely about the bond between mother and daughter, but it's also, the necklace for me symbolized like Atra, like it really symbolized us as a people, as Suraye. That necklace was our traditions, our values, our faith being passed down. So it wasn't so much that it was an object, but actually Atra itself. And obviously that's quite deep, and I'm sure a lot of people don't get that, but that was the symbology for me when I was creating it and writing it. And yeah, so.
Man, what an answer. It's very clear that this is something that you care deeply about. It means a lot to you. And I just love to hear that, hearing that passion come from you. Ladies and gentlemen, Atourina Charles is with me right now. For those of you that are listening at the moment, we have a QR code at the bottom down below, right there. If you'd like to go visit Atourina Charles's website so you can see what she's all about and a chance to go purchase a necklace to keep. So with that, I have another question for you. And you talk about, how important it is to, be a part of your daughter's life, and, reading these stories to her, seeing how much she cares about being Assyrian. So what I'm wondering is, have you read your book to your daughter? And if so, what does she think of it?
Yes, in fact, so I'll rewind a little bit. She actually helped me a lot with this book. I would say that my mom, Ramina, and my daughter helped me like the most, honestly. she helped me to write certain parts of it, to edit it, the visual parts of it. She helped me choose what to go with. She's like incredible with that. And so reading it to her was really beautiful because it was almost like a validation for her own work as well. But the first time that I read it was actually to her and her two very close friends. And it was in our living room here where I'm sitting, and it was with my actual illustrations and printed out the story. So I was holding up the illustrations, you know, my actual drawings, and then reading the story, and then kind of dropping the illustration as I kept reading the story. And they loved it. You know, one of them was only 3 years old. So it was two 6-year-olds and a 3-year-old, and even the 3-year-old was captivated. And they were Nakhraya, they weren't Suraya, the other two girls. And that was the first time, and they all really loved it. And I think she's just very proud of me, which is very sweet. And yeah, I mean, we read every night. You know, tonight we were reading biblical stories, which we often do as well. We've got some illustrated children's biblical stories, and yeah, it's been very, very special to grab for. I almost am like hesitant to grab for it because I don't want to force it on her and say this is Mama's book, we have to read it. But she does genuinely love it, and is very, she's proud of her mom, which is really, really sweet.
That's so wonderful to hear. Another question I have is, you wrote and illustrated this book. What was that process like, and what would you say was your favorite part about doing this whole thing? Did you like writing it more? Did you like drawing it more? What would you say?
Yeah, so the writing part was actually really fast, but also long. So the research part of it took me about almost 2 months. I just kept on taking in and taking in and taking in and writing as much as I could down from the stories that my mom was telling me, and just like details about things, and looking through photos of Sefo, and yeah, just going through like archive things just so I could really like ingrain myself in it. And then when it came time to write the story, I remember it. I had my husband put my daughter to bed because I knew I needed to sit down that night. And it came within like 20 minutes. And I was astonished because obviously it's based on a true event, but I shaped it in a way, you know, with the necklace and Nineveh constantly messing things up. Like those were all things that I added, obviously, to shape a children's story. So the story came very, very quick once I had immersed myself, essentially, and I really felt like my ancestor, this relative of mine, was almost like speaking to me, if that, you know, if I can say that. And then the drawing part took a really long time, so that was quite an endeavor. And partially because I started in a different medium, and then I switched to pencils instead of paint. And I really loved that because as an artist, I love sitting. There's nothing better than sitting down and drawing for me, although it's very tedious and took a very, very long time. So as I'm getting ready to start my next book, I'm trying to figure out ways to, yes, still make it a traditionally illustrated book, because I'm really, that's the way that I work as an artist, is by hand. However, trying to figure out a way to do it a little bit quicker, because this did take pretty much a year to illustrate. So for 12 illustrations, it takes a long time to do pencil, colored pencil that way. But I would say, honestly, both parts were really amazing, because the first part was so much learning and really saturating myself with these stories and really honoring our ancestors. And then the second part was kind of like the fun part of creating the art behind it.
You know, I noticed you mentioned that you're working on your next book. Is that going to be another children's book? And would you say at this point that in terms of writing books, would you say that writing children's books are your specialty?
Yes, it's going to be a children's book. It's going to be a series. And I don't know how much I should share about it, but yes, I'm in the research process now, and absolutely children's books, because I want to do the illustrations. That's the real drive, is the illustrations, but also telling the stories, um, to our children, for Assyrian children to have these books. Because I think as adults, we have quite an extensive library now, thank God, of books for Assyrians, and for Nakhrai, but about Assyrians that we can digest. But I think for children, there's still a need. So, and luckily, it's also something that I'm really enjoying to do. So it just is working out that way.
That's amazing, honestly, because I too agree that there's really not a lot for Assyrian children to read nowadays, mainly because there's not a lot of literature regarding Assyrians to begin with, because Assyrians are a very small minority globally. So the fact that you are contributing and replenishing the amount of literature, whether it's children's books or normal books as well. It's just really nice to see that we have someone in the community that's willing to contribute and add to that catalog, so that our children and future generations have something to read for a bedtime story. So I really appreciate you for that, and I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
So I only have two questions left for you. My Before I ask you the last one, I want to know, what is your favorite part about being a Syrian?
Um, there's so many. My favorite part, I can't really pin that down. I think that, like, with this is, I don't know if this is very specific to being Assyrian, but it's that connection that you have with other Assyrians instantly, even if you're not related, even if you've just met them. Like, for instance, for me, I live 2 hours from London, and obviously we have a beautiful church there and community there in Ealing. And, every time I've visited, although I'm not close with them, I don't have any family there, it instantly feels like family. The instant connection, the instant just seeing yourself in your people, our resilience and dedication to hold on to our tradition, even though we're, all over the world, and we're, one of the oldest, if not the oldest civilization. It's and what we've endured, there's really, I mean, I thank God every day that I'm Assyrian. It's really an incredible feeling, and I feel a privilege, although some might think that's a crazy thing to say, with everything that, we don't have our own country and all of that. But honestly, uh, it feels like a blessing to be Assyrian, and that connection, like, I think it's that connection that we have with each other is really remarkable.
How profound. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in so far. I'm Mark Aziz. I'm interviewing Atourina Charles, who's written her latest children's book, A Necklace to Keep. Atourina, before we throw things back to Dr. Amina Jaju, I have one last question for you. What do you want to say to all the listeners out there?
Um, I would say, specific to this, I would say, it's really important, especially as Assyrians, I think it's really important that we remember our past, that we honor and commemorate those who came before us, and learn about our history, and not just leave it for Nakhraya, or for it to be living in books, that we really actually do our research and learn. SAFO has an incredible library of resources available on their website, that is just, from archived images, and for me, it was um, an absolute treat to be able to have everything in one place. So I would say to our people, really learn about our history, and then also honor in any way that we can. So in any way that we can contribute back into our community, I think it's really important. I think that's something that even in a small way that we can do is valuable. It's very valuable to reconnect back into our communities with whatever work we do in the world. Yeah, like that.
Atourina, thank you so much for being out here today. We really appreciate you taking out the time of your day to come in and talk to us and have this wonderful conversation. I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Amina Jaju to close things out for us.
Thank you, Mark, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Atourina. Oh my gosh. I'm going to take the opportunity, Atourina, and with your permission, I'm just going to show one drawing. And this is just amazing. Isn't that adorable? You want to have this book. And the little girl in the book actually looks like your daughter. I don't know if it was meant to be or not. But this book was sold at the London Picnic at Church. And it is available on Amazon. And I don't think Atourina mentioned that. But very briefly, it actually became #1 new release in Middle Eastern books, children's books. So I highly recommend it. It's a touching story. It is available again on Amazon and from Atourina's website. If anybody has any questions, they can reach out directly to Atourina, or if they want to write a new book, they can reach out to Sefo Center at resolution@sefocenteraz.com. They can also follow us on pretty much all social media. And one other thing I want to mention before I forget is that the Labor Day weekend, there is the annual Assyrian Convention. It's a national convention. And thanks to Dr. Rabi Edu, who's the founder of Renio, they're going to have a booth there, a table, and they will be selling these two books that were published by Sefo Center. And it's been an absolute honor and privilege to work with Atourina. I want to let everybody know that Sefo Center is for all aspiring authors and artists. We want to tell our story, the story of genocides, and there's unfortunately many of them, not just the genocide, not just the Sefo genocide. There are many genocides against us, and we want to tell these stories because we want to be a voice for the voiceless. Thank you so much to you, Mark, and thank you to Frederick from Cinnamon Production.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode today. My name is Mark Aziz once again. I just interviewed Atourina Charles, the author of A Necklace to Keep, the latest children's book to be published by the Sefo Center. If you want any more information, once again, we have the QR code that's down below that you can use to go visit Atourina Charles's website. Along with that, if you'd like to see more information about the Sefo Center, you can go ahead and visit www.sefocenter.com to see what are the newest updates regarding the Assyrian community and the efforts that we're taking to help get the Assyrian Genocide in 1915 to become recognized. But once again, I'd like to thank you all for coming in today and tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And that's all. Signing off.